Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up Podcast. That's Nick. I'm Theo. Today, it's a Tuesday, so we're going to recap Sunday's action. We're going to preview Thursday Night Football, and like I said last week, we are going to start doing our little Tuesday prospects, where Nick and I each bring a draft-eligible candidate for the 2025 NFL Draft, and we talk them up a little bit and kind of get into the NFL draft scouting side of things, like our early episodes. As always, we're on Twitter at @DraftedUp_pod, and then Apple, YouTube, Spotify at search Drafted Up Podcasts, like, rate, subscribe, review, share, and word of mouth. We always appreciate it. How you doing today, Nick?
Doing good as always. Ready to talk week 10. It was an alright week for fantasy. I had a good week in our home league, so I can't really complain. I won in our two main leagues.
Yeah, it seemed to be consolidated into like game situations. Like, games are really good, and then as we go through, we'll have some dud games.
Duds.
Yeah. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive on in. Thursday Night Football. This might have been the best game. Bengals
started off hot.
Ravens win 35-34, and
great game.
Hey, Zach Taylor, he went for the win. I'll give it to him, even though there was still some questionable stuff he did. Like, he is my problem with the Bengals, the team I just can't quit.
Of course.
But Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase looked phenomenal.
What
a game. Lamar Jackson on his way, looking like to a third MVP possibly. But Joe Burrow, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then, Jamar Chase, 17 targets, 11 catches for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. This man is just obliterating the Baltimore Ravens defense this season.
Oh, yeah, for sure. His 2 games versus the Ravens are like better than some guys' seasons. Like Tyreek's season going into Monday. Chase had more yards in his 2 games versus the Ravens than Tyreek had like all season. So it's like a must start, obviously, versus Baltimore. But like, Chase is such a lock. If anyone was able to go out and get him before this week, just on like I'm going to try to make a push for Chase, and now no one can trade for Chase. He's off everyone's limits.
Yeah.
If you're trading for him, you're trading so much, dude.
Yeah.
And in our home league, Burrow and Chase are on the same team, dude, and he left Thursday night with over 100 points. These two dudes
he could have
are
won with just
phenomenal.
those 2 guys. He won with just them. Phenomenal.
They scored like 120 points.
Yeah. Joe Burrow in his last 2 games has like 930 plus yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 or 2 interceptions. Like, he's playing great football. The Bengals, though, defense has just been pretty lackluster. Coaching's been bad. They just can't buy a win right now. It's
their
crazy.
Defense is letting them down.
Yeah. And then
Joe Burrow's doing everything he can. Even Chase Brown's been playing out of this world.
Yeah, he's been
the last couple weeks. So
been the bell guy there, but they traded for Khalil Herbert. I expect him to be more involved, especially because during like clear passing situations on third down, like third and longs, third and mediums, they were taking Chase Brown out and putting 2 tight ends in the backfield to block, because Chase Brown, not his type of thing, but he was still involved in the passing game. He had 11 targets, 9 catches for 52 yards, and then 40 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So he's been killing it in the RB1 role here for Cincinnati. I do think his workload goes down a little bit, but not enough where I'm worried about him going forward as I would say a high-end RB2.
I think he's a very high-end RB2, even pushing the RB1 for the rest of the season territory. I don't see Herbert getting really involved like Zach Moss was, and I think it's going to be here and there, to be honest. I see Chase Brown as a huge upside guy going throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah. I think Herbert's Zach Moss role is more for pass protection than any sort of workload situation there.
I don't see him eating any type of carries or targets from Chase Brown. I see him being the bell cow. I don't think he's going to get 100% of carries like he has been. But no. I think it's going to be like 80%, 75%.
Yeah. Another game, no T. Higgins. So Mike Gesicki, he's been the guy who's got the numbers. Not so much this game, 4 for 30, but he did have 9 targets. So He was clearly
Yeah, I was gonna say, he had
involved
the
in the
targets.
offense. It just wasn't going his way. It went Tanner Hudson's way, who was also involved. He had 7 targets and went 6 for 42 and 1, but nobody's starting Tanner Hudson. So, but
No.
if T. Higgins doesn't play again this week, you still in on Mike Gesicki?
Yeah, it depends on who I have at tight end, but he's definitely
got a big
startable.
bye weeks coming up. No Trey McBride this week.
He's definitely startable if you need a start for sure. The 9 targets, especially with Higgins probably not playing, so
yeah,
Gesicki's gonna start.
Yeah, the Bengals have their bye the following week, so I would assume we're not going to see T. Higgins
will
on
be back
Sunday.
after that.
Get him some extra rest. And then Lamar Jackson, we brought him up at the beginning at 290 and 4.
Amazing.
33 extra yards on the ground. Derrick Henry was pretty lackluster. He did score, but other than that, 60 yards and a touchdown. Bengals did a great job. Game script wise, they took him out. His other bad game this year, bad air quotes, game was against Cincinnati, where he just was reliant on a touchdown. So Cincinnati's had Derrick Henry's number per se. Rashad Bateman had a good game, 6 for 54 and 1.
Yeah, he ate.
Tylan Wallace had that big catch, but not.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah, that was just kind of a fluky situation. Zay Flowers, though, 4 for 34. And
he
Deontay
was
Johnson, 1 for 6.
Deontay Johnson's not even.
I don't think he's
like,
rosterable.
you can have him on your. I would give him one more week just in case, but don't even think about starting him. He's not even worth it. Bateman's still clear cut the number 2 receiver on this team.
Yeah.
Bateman ate on Thursday. Like, Zay Flowers didn't even eat in this huge game, but Bateman did.
Yeah, it was a classic Zay Flowers game. They were just doing short stuff to him, and he just wasn't breaking anything. But still incredibly involved, 6 targets. And Mark Andrews, no Isaiah Likely. It was a Mark Andrews show, 6 for 68 and 1. Looking like a tight end 1 again is Mark Andrews. And, hey, Isaiah Likely, if you want to just take some time off, rest up for the playoffs, let's Mark Andrews looking good, looking healthy.
Yeah. Since the Cincinnati game, to be honest, that's when Mark Andrews really came back. He has had one bad game per se in that huge run since Cincinnati to Cincinnati, but other than that, he's just been a really good start. So Mark Andrews seems to be like Mark.
He's
Andrews.
fine. Yeah, he's healthy. Like I really think that accident really kind of took its toll, and Baltimore just wasn't like putting anything out there about it.
Yeah, I agree. Both kickers have shit the bed in this game, and they're pretty big name kickers.
Yeah, it was all
Ian
just
McPherson and Justin Tucker.
Yeah, they just weren't kicking field goals, and that's not on the kickers. Like Evan McPherson didn't miss anything; he was 4 for 4 on his extra points. Tucker did miss an extra point.
Tucker missed, yeah.
Tucker's been kind of average this year. He might not be the Justin Tucker anymore.
I mean, he's kind of just been like a kicker for the last couple of years, to be honest. Like, he's good. Don't get me wrong, but
he's not like automatic though. He's not.
Yeah, no.
Like from 50 yards,
Especially not for
he
fantasy.
might have 1 this year. 1 50-yard field goal. I know he's been pretty bad the last year and a half, 2 years at 50-yard kicks. But
he has 2 50-yard field goals this year.
Yeah. Other Bengals receivers.
That's not a lot.
Are you playing any of these guys if T. Higgins is out? Yoshi Voss, Jermaine Burton,
No,
like they were trying to get him involved, but like nothing. Like they're too touchdown dependent for me. Like they're not going to get any work.
Yeah.
That's going to make them relevant. Like they can't get a 7 for 76, no touchdown. They need to get like a 3 for 20 and a touchdown to be any sort of fan. They're only really rosterable in deep leagues.
Yeah, Dynasty, I would definitely roster Yoshi Voss and Burton. I'm not starting them, but I would start Gesicki and Chase for sure. But yeah, no other receiver I'm not going to even look at. Not until Higgins is back.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be big for Cincinnati. They're still in the thick of it. They're 1 game out of the playoffs.
They're hanging in
with Denver. Denver's 5-5. They got the 7 spot, so they got to get it going on here. A lot of toss-up games here for them to finish out their season. We had a Germany game. The New York Giants fell short to the Carolina Panthers, 20-17 in overtime. My guy Bryce Young, I said it. They were winning this game. I felt it in my arthritic bones, and it wasn't because of Bryce Young. Like, he was fine. Like, he's looked better since, getting benched and coming back. But this was on the back of that defense, and Chuba Hubbard, 28 carries for 153 yards and a touchdown. They paid this guy for a reason, and he was the first ever international player to have 150 yards rushing in an international game. Real obscure
Yeah, he had over
stat.
100 yards at half. The dude killed our defense. Both running backs, though, looked great in this game. If you just jump to the Giants side, Tracy looked good besides his fumble in overtime, which literally lost us the game. He did lose the game single-handedly, but he's a rookie. He's going to bounce back, and to be honest, he's going to grow from it. So I'm looking forward to see how he does handle it, but he has the opportunity here. It's his whole backfield for the rest of the year. We have a bye coming up, and I honestly expect Danny Jones to get benched.
Yeah, this was, in my eyes, Daniel Jones' last game as a New York Giant, and
hopefully
last time he'll ever be a start of the week on the podcast. But hey, next year, I think
if it truly was his last start and he got the start of the week, I'm fine with it. But he had a nice touchdown, and he had a chance to drive us down the field in overtime. And if he would have got the touchdown in overtime, he would have had a really good fantasy week.
Yeah, if he played like he did in the fourth quarter, he had a great day. Like he was just ugly to begin the game, but his fourth quarter numbers were strong.
Yeah, the first half of this game was not a real game, but the third and fourth quarter were actually entertaining football. They were. It was a good game on back end plays.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones next year though he's going to be a little frisky backup. He's going to get in the game or two, and it's kind of going to be fun. And he might be okay, and we'll be like, "Was Daniel Jones good?" We'll go down the Sam Darnold route, and then the third game, if he gets to play and he puts up Daniel Jones numbers, like, "Oh, there he is. There's Dan Jones, back at it again, baby."
I fully expect him to be a backup for a good amount of years to come. He's a really good backup. He's just not a starter.
Yeah,
but he can enter a game at any point and kind of just switch up the pace. He's very athletic, and he can throw safe passes. He's never going to change the game pass wise.
Honestly, Miami should get him. They need someone. Yeah, like he's better than
Miami definitely needs a backup.
Tyler Huntley. But Bryce Young, to bring him up, he was 15 for 25, 126, and a touchdown. He's playing smarter football. He made some good throws. Did have some plays that weren't great, but he's not getting rattled as quickly as he was. Like Carolina's line's playing a lot better, and I honestly think that Bryce Young is playing for his job, and I think he's done a great job. Where I don't think Carolina's going to necessarily have to draft a quarterback next year. Now, I think they should bring someone in. Like maybe if New Orleans gets rid of Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr would be a fine backup to, Bryce Young, or even bring back Andy Dalton, but I don't think Andy Dalton's going to provide you any sort of upside.
I think that's the move. I think him learning under Andy Dalton, even like in the 3 weeks Andy Dalton played, but I think Andy Dalton they have some type of friendship, and it shows. Like Andy Dalton's extremely happy for Bryce Young. You can see it on the sideline. Young comes immediately up to Dalton before anybody else, and they high five, they shake hands. It's fun to watch. I would actually like to see Andy Dalton back there just for Bryce Young's development, and I also wouldn't mind them not drafting a quarterback. Yeah. Just let it rock. I've suffered through 5 to 6 years of Danny Jones. What's another year of Bryce Young? There's no rush, to be honest. You're not going to win a Super Bowl next year regardless.
Exactly. And the quarterback draft class isn't strong this year.
Exactly, yeah. Don't pull the trigger when you're not ready. Like, it's going to set you back even further.
Yep. Miles Sanders, though, looks like he's probably going to be done for the year. He got carted off.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, he's been playing really well in a backup role there behind Chuba Hubbard, but Johnny Brooks probably back in 2 weeks. Carolina goes on the bye. Receiving room. Are you interested in any of the Panthers receivers? Leggett was 3 for 40. Jalen Coker was 3 for 41. He led the team in targets again with 8 targets. Leggett only had 4.
I think both would be fine rosterable in 12-team leagues.
Stashes, yeah.
I wouldn't start him, but keep your eye on Leggett, though, and even Coker. Like, Coker's getting the targets, but Leggett is the red zone option. Yeah, I'm really surprised that Sanders got the touchdown, but if Leggett would have got this touchdown, it would have been a whole different story we'd be talking right now.
Leggett has a bigger ceiling than Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker will...
I agree, yeah.
Find numbers up. He's got a great floor. Like, if you need just a floor guy, a guy who gets you 7 to 10 points, Jalen Coker's your guy. Leggett, he could get you 4, but he could also get you 20.
Yeah.
And then Jatavian Sanders, you brought him. He did have a touchdown. He was 2 for 8. And the tutty, he a guy you're putting on a roster. I'm not. Dynasty, sure.
The week before versus New Orleans, he had a great week. He was 4 for 87, but but the bye week, and they got Kansas City coming up.
They're the worst against tight ends, though.
They're weak versus tight ends, so like it's a stream option, but he's not worth having on the bye. So like I'm not saying go pick him up, but come next week, he's definitely streamable versus Kansas City.
You brought up Tyrone Tracy, another great game, 18 for 103 and 1. Less passing game involvement. Only had 2 targets, 1 catch for 1 yard. Tracy's going to be fine going forward. Devin Singletary, though, the only reason you're rostering him is if Tracy gets hurt. But if you need a guy, Devin Singletary, you could probably drop him.
Yeah, for sure. He's not any bit fantasy wise. 8 carries, 7 the week before, 2 the week before that. He's not worth it. Tracy, though, is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. He's been such a good 5th, 6th round find. So I'm very excited for that.
Wan'Dale Robinson continues to be fantasy relevant in PPR leagues, 5 for 51. Again, another good floor guy, but again, also a guy with a minimal ceiling. He doesn't provide you much upside. Whereas like him
and Jalen Coker are very similar.
Yeah. Like I would rather, like if Ricky Pearsall was on my waivers and I had Wan'Dale, I'd rather just take the upside with Pearsall, even though he's like the 6th option in San Francisco, just because he can break off a 70-yard touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson's lucky to get 70 yards.
Yeah, Wan'Dale getting 70 yards would be one time this season has happened, so it's not going to happen often. I did hear a little fact. Going into this week, the New York Giants were the only NFL team with 2 receivers with 50 catches. Huh. So keep that in mind.
Way to go, Wan'Dale. 50 catches for 75 yards. Malik Neighbors, again, 10 targets, 6 for 50. Daniel Jones' play there was really kind of holding him back for a bit. He missed him on a deep shot. Daniel Jones had this great clean pocket, and he had Neighbors open down the sideline. He just fucking overshot him by 10 yards.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. Danny Jones, I'm not going to sit here and keep bad-mouthing him. Like he's afraid to make decisions. He needs a receiver to be wide open, like for 10-plus yards in order for him to pull the trigger.
Yeah,
he can't see a play before it happens. Yeah, exactly. So you can't run an offense through him with him passing the ball like that. It's such a bad offense. We can't move. Like we're moving the ball, and then we get to like the 30, the 40 on the other side, and then we just have to stop because we just become inept, and then it's just downhill from there. You can't win kicking field goals.
Yeah, and hey, Jalen Hyatt, 4 for 39. Welcome to the league, buddy.
He was involved.
Good to see him. Yeah, I was shocked. Tell you, he did. He played the Darius Slayton role. I was surprised to see 4 targets for him. I would
still much rather Slayton.
Yeah, Hyatt, but hey, he got on the field. That's all I've been asking, and he was involved. And then Theo Johnson, 4 for 37. Him or Jatavian Sanders had to play one of them this week.
Well, Sanders is on.
Oh, they're both on bye. So next week, like you gotta next week. There's 6 bye weeks
because
Kansas City matchup.
Sanders, they got Kansas City. We have Tampa Bay.
Okay,
I think that's gonna be a blowout. I think Tampa Bay is gonna fucking kill us.
Yeah, they might have Mike Evans back, and you guys might have Drew Lock.
Obviously, the Chiefs are gonna kill. The Panthers.
The Chiefs they kill anybody?
But the Chiefs play close games. That's the whole difference. Like Tampa Bay can easily beat us by 50.
Yeah.
Or the Chiefs will just run the ball down Carolina's throat and beat them by 14.
Yeah. New England beat Chicago 19-3. The Bears offense has been the worst in football since their bye week, and they fired Shane Waldron.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out for them. I hope it does. I hope this provides some upside for Caleb Williams, because he is his numbers are just slightly better than Bryce Young last year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you've seen the games.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, you didn't
had the
see
flash.
the games where. Yeah.
Yeah, he got sacked 9 times today. The Bears' line's atrocious. We brought that up. That's what it was looking like at the beginning of the year, and then there was a stretch where
right back to where it
wasn't a problem, and now there was a play I saw it on Twitter. Their right tackle, it was they were running a little bootleg with Caleb, and all the line moves, and the right tackle missed 3 dudes. He just ran by them, didn't bother touching them, and just stood where another guy was being blocked, and Caleb ended up getting hit by one of those 3 dudes.
Of course.
No one knows where they're supposed to be blocking in Chicago. It's a poorly run offense, so I hope it does work out
it
for
starts
them.
with the coaches.
Yeah, and Matt Eberflus, I don't think that guy's going to have a job much longer either. He might make it through the year, but he's not going to be the coach there next year.
I would assume at this point he's making it the rest of the year, but he's not going to be there. The players don't really want him to be there. You can kind of tell the what's the word? The morale is it's just really bad in Chicago right now, dude. It was really good for a couple weeks in the middle of the season, but it's completely burnt out at this point.
Yeah, but this game, no fantasy relevance really. Like Drake May was 184-1. He had an ugly interception. Caleb was 120, no touchdowns, 15 yards on the ground. Ramondre had 70 yards rushing, but no touchdown. DeAndre Swift, 59 yards rushing, no touchdown. Hunter Henry took a back seat to Austin Hooper. They both had 4 targets, but Austin Hooper hauled in 3 of his for 64. Hunter Henry was 1 for 14. I'm not really worried about that. Hunter Henry, to me, still the first or second option in this offense. And with 6 buys coming up here, I think he's still a playable option.
Yeah. I'm cool with it. One bad game.
Yeah.
I'm still streaming Hunter Henry if need be.
Yeah,
but man, this game was bad, dude. Yeah, all around.
Yeah. Pop Douglas was 4 for 50. Keyshawn Boutte 4 for 47. Keenan Allen 5 for 44. DJ Moore 3 for 24.
And Austin Hooper. Yeah, Keenan Allen and Austin Hooper were the highest scoring positional players at 9.4 in a full point PPR. No one broke 10. Yeah. Like Drake May is the only player to break 10, and he's a quarterback, not counting New England's kicker and defense. Their defense had 9 sacks, so their defense had an amazing week.
Yeah, it was an ugly game all around. Chicago, they're probably a team, maybe not so much now with the coordinator change, but maybe target the defenses that are playing them because the line can't block. I don't think an offensive coordinator is going to change too much. Swift
is really the only player I'm cool starting.
Yeah, I don't want to play any of the receivers. I would be trying to hide DJ Moore in a trade and just hope the person you're trading him to is just like, oh, DJ Moore, he's fine. He's, name value.
He's a good name.
Yeah. But who?
Yeah, I agree. If your league hasn't had trade deadline, I know a lot has. Ours is this week, upcoming week is the last week. You got to get rid of DJ Moore, dude. Like he's not worth it. He's gonna have maybe 1 or 2 big games the rest of the season, but the rest are gonna be like duds, dude. Like bad games.
Yeah,
this offense is not worth being attached to.
Yeah, sell the new offensive coordinator. Maybe that's the way you can get him up to that other team. Like, hey, new coordinator. Things are changing in Chicago. Yeah, Buffalo beat up on Indy 30-20. Josh Allen.
Yeah, this game was closer than it should have been.
Josh Allen was pretty lackluster.
It wasn't this close. It wasn't.
2 interceptions, had a rushing touchdown. Joe Flacco had 3 interceptions and a fumble. Like he is turning the ball over a ton, and they're sticking with him, which is fine. But I do think Anthony Richardson ends up back in this season at some point. I think once they're like pretty well out of it, I think you're going to see Anthony Richardson back in, where then they can lose games. Who cares?
Yeah, he might, but there's no the 26 for 35. Anthony Richardson would have been fucking 6 for 42 if he hadn't he played this game. Like Buffalo would have cakewalked all over Anthony Richardson. So I get Flacco had a bad game, but their secondary is one of the best in football. Yeah,
Buffalo's defense is great. The running backs were great on both sides. James Cook, 19 for 80 and a touchdown. Johnny Taylor, 114. He had a big run too, and he was a little involvement in the pass game, 2 for 8 on 4 targets.
Longest rush of his season so far.
What's that?
It was his longest rush of the season so far.
Yeah. It's good seeing him healthy. He's playing great. Alec Pierce, 7 targets.
Yeah, good little game.
4 for 81, and he had a touchdown with 5 seconds left in the game, so that boosted him up a little bit. Josh Downs, 7 for 72.
I would like to think that's Michael Pittman, though, if Michael Pittman's fully healthy.
See, I think Adonai Mitchell is Michael Pittman.
No, I think it would still be Pierce. I think he would have the touchdown. And
see, they love Alec Pierce there. They should be playing Adonai Mitchell, but I think Mitchell We saw a career high in snaps this year. He had played 92% of the snaps. He hasn't. He went the week before that. He had 10%. I think he took the Michael Pittman role, and he had a nice game, 6 for 71. Like, they should be playing him. Honestly, sit Michael Pittman. Like, if his back's all jacked up, like, back injuries aren't gonna just fix themselves. Like, take some time off. Like, Indy's probably not making the playoffs. Let's see what Adonai Mitchell has. Alec Pierce. Like, Michael Pittman's not going anywhere next year. He got the contract. Maybe, you know,
you got the bag.
Keep throwing Alec Pierce out there. You might get something for him next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I got Josh Downs is really the only receiver I'm cool starting out of that group, though.
Yeah. Even when Pittman's back, I need to see him do something because he's been...
Yeah, for sure. Like, Josh Downs has been consistent.
He's been a letdown this year. Buffalo, Khalil Shakir, my start of the week. He was 9 for 58, which was fine. Keep an eye on Mac Hollins. He's out there, 4 for 86.
He was six for 58.
Oh, yeah, sorry. He had 9 targets.
He had 9 targets, yeah.
Mac Hollins, he's out there. Keon Coleman's already been ruled out for this week. So, Mac Hollins...
I appreciate that, coming out just very early and being like, Keon Coleman's not playing this week.
That
is very true.
Buffalo, tell me if Amari Cooper is playing. I would expect him to play, but they have a bye week next week, so maybe they don't. Maybe they rest Cooper, but a big game against Kansas City, I'd want him out there. Dalton Kincaid's probably also not playing. He got hurt this game. So Kincaid owners
I think that's
probably going to have to... He's almost droppable at this point.
I was going to say, I actually think it's good that he might not play because they got Kansas City, who is notoriously bad versus tight ends. So it's an excuse for him not to go out there and shit the bed versus a really bad defense. Because
you're squeezing him into your lineup if he's playing Kansas City.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Kincaid versus Kansas City, it's prime for a good game, and he's going to go out there and have 6 points. He's going to shit the bed if he plays. Like, he is pretty much cuttable at this point. Like, I get tight ends are rough, but he's no better than a stream option at this point.
Yeah, him and Jake Ferguson are just like floating around in mediocrity right now. And Jake Ferguson's is a quarterback issue, but Kincaid's is an offensive issue. He's just not. It's just not the way Buffalo's playing right now to make him the dude.
Yeah, it's like they hate throwing him the ball. It's insane.
Yeah, especially in the red zone.
That is true.
If Amari Cooper doesn't play this week, Mac Hollins, you cool with a stream option for him?
I guess, but man, I would just rather Shakir and call it a day.
Okay. Because if Kincaid's not out there, you cool streaming Dawson Knox?
No, I'd rather.
I agree.
Find someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Minnesota Jacksonville. What a game that was. 12-7. Vikings come out on top.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold.
Thank God you guys played a
bad team, an inept offense.
Yeah. Thank God, yeah, mate. If you guys didn't play anyone but Jacksonville this week, it would have probably been really bad, to be honest.
Sam Darnold, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, 241 yards, did get 28 on the ground. Mac Jones was bad, 111, 2 interceptions. He fumbled. He did have a rushing touchdown, so he did score. But all around bad quarterback game. Aaron Jones was looking good, and then he got banged up, rib injury, but he's probably going to play this week. He was 17 for 88.
He got carted off.
Yeah, I think he got the wind knocked out of him, and then just was this I think he had bruised ribs. I think that's what came out about him. But KOC says he's likely good to go this week.
Yeah, I would assume he is. He came back and played,
and he's going to face a tough defensive line in Tennessee.
Yeah, for sure.
ETN was okay. 11 for 44. He had a big catch, and then that was taken away. It was taken away. Like, if you add that to it, he breaks, because that was like a 40-yard catch, and there was a holding call that was on the other side of the field. So it didn't necessarily
Bigsby only had
him.
2 carries. So ETN should have been able to have a way bigger workload. Bigsby wasn't really involved at all.
The Vikings defense does a pretty good job usually of shutting down the run. And
that's what I'm saying. He only had 1 catch, though. Get this guy involved in the back.
I think that was a quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That was
not really a bad quarterback should be able to dink the ball off to a running back. it's your check down, dude. Like, he's right there. Get him 6-7 catches. What are we doing here?
Can Mac Jones do that? Does Doug Peterson want to do
throw
that?
a ball 2 yards to his left?
Doug
Yeah,
Peterson
I think so.
hates Travis Etienne. I'm still on that train.
That guy should be just fired. He's next to my hit list. What are we talking about here? Dennis Allen?
Go on.
Dennis Allen's been canned. I think I'm on the Doug Peterson shit list now. Like, we've already got Dennis Allen out here. I think Doug Peterson's up next.
Yeah. Brian Thomas Jr., 2 for 12. How do you feel about him rest of the season?
Dude, you and I had a little bit of a talk about him today. I'm so worried about Brian Thomas the rest of the year. Like, you can make a case that they could gain chemistry if it is Mac Jones for a good amount of the rest of the season. But I don't know how much chemistry you can possibly gain. Anything's better than 2 catches for 12 yards. Like, a while, he was just goose egged. He was 0.
Yeah, it was all garbage. It was the end of the game. Garbage stuff. Mac Jones is, but he's looked like a pro quarterback in the past. Whereas, like, I maybe that's still there. I don't know, but like, I am worried. Like, if I had Brian Thomas as a wide receiver 2 going forward, I'm dropping him to like a low end flex. Like, I'm still going to put him in my lineup because he could hit Brian Thomas on a deep bomb for 40 yards. And if he finishes the game 1 for 40 and 1, you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm just looking at his schedule. He's got Detroit.
Detroit, you can pass on them. And
you can, but there's still a really good defense. Houston's a good defense. Tennessee, that'll be a good game. But then he's got the Jets. That's a good defense.
Well,
just a couple rough matchups.
Tennessee's the best defense in football.
You can pass on them. I'm not. No, if you had the option to trade Brian Thomas, it's a DJ Moore thing. I would try to dip.
Well, I'd rather have Brian Thomas than DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore, there's no other receiver. DJ Moore could lose stuff to Keenan Allen one week or Rome Odunze.
Yeah,
Gabe Davis ain't stealing
DJ Moore
shit.
has a competent quarterback.
Yeah, but
I don't trust Mac Jones. I just can't do it.
I think with Brian Thomas, it is going to be a wild ride. You're going to have games where he's going to be 2 for 12 and get you 3 points. I think there's going to be games where he gets a deep touchdown and he could win you a week.
There's just been so many like big time receivers this year that have already been burnt by backup quarterbacks that I'm so salty with backup quarterbacks. It just worries me. Like CD, I'm too super petrified with. Look at Tyreek all year. Like, he's just been dog shit with backup quarterbacks, and he's like the best receiver in football, arguably. Jalen Waddle's been argued as droppable. Because of the quarterback play.
Has Tyreek been really that much better since Tua came back, though? Last week, on Monday, it was touchdown. He had 1 catch for 16 yards.
Yeah, but I would much rather, like, the whole backup quarterback thing worries me. So Mac Jones has me petrified for Jacksonville.
Well, I do think
there's not enough good quarterbacks in the world. That's just the problem.
I do think Mac Jones is going to play this week, and then Jacksonville has their bye the next week. I think then we evaluate how healthy Trevor Lawrence is.
Yeah, I think he's going to be reevaluated at the bye, but there's a chance he just misses the rest of the year. Like, that's still an option.
And there's also Jacksonville could just sit him because they're bad. They're already now. They have the first pick of the draft right now, so they're leading the way for the Travis Hunter sweepstakes because they're not going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, 5 for 48. You're going to not worry about him. It's
every single one of Darnold's interceptions was on a target.
He was hyper target. He was just looking him. He missed Jordan Addison. Yeah. Jordan Addison had a clear 50-plus yard touchdown, but Sam Darnold had to force the ball to Justin Jefferson. But Jordan Addison was the guy going to bring up. Like, he's a guy who you could drop him if you needed a spot. Because he has not been it really this year.
No, yeah, he's got the one game versus Indy and then the game up at week 4 versus Green Bay, but those are all touchdown dependent games. And like those are his 2 touchdowns on the year. Like his 2 best games are touchdown games.
And last year he had 9 touchdowns. The touchdowns aren't going his way this year.
It's because Darnold's not Kirk Cousins. Darnold isn't going to be a huge touchdown kind of guy. He literally had 0 touchdowns this game. So I wouldn't drop him, but he's definitely very close to be droppable for sure.
And then TJ Hawkinson, he's going to get better every week, coming off the serious injury, but 9 targets.
Would you take Addison or DJ Moore? Because I would take Brian Thomas over all 3 of them.
Yeah. I would take BTJ over
Brian
them.
Thomas. I would take Brian Thomas.
I would take DJ Moore over Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I would go Brian Thomas, DJ Moore, Addison.
Yeah. No, I agree. But TJ Hawkinson, lock him in now every week. He's going to just keep getting better. Game. Hey, man, Sam Darnold, though, has as many touchdowns this season as Kirk Cousins.
I get that. Kirk Cousins he's coming off a legitimate injury.
Yeah. Hey, Sam Darnold also has as many touchdowns as Josh Allen.
Well, we'll have this conversation at the end of the year.
But right now, you said Sam Darnold doesn't throw touchdowns, but it's Burrow, Lamar, and Baker all tied for first at 24, and then it's Allen, Cousins, Darnold.
I was going off of Kirk Cousins last season with Minnesota when he was on pace for 45 touchdowns when he got hurt. Yeah. That number is not going to be doable by Sam Darnold.
We're a little more balanced this year.
Close to 25.
We have an actual running back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Evan Ingram, you're still fine with him, even with Mac Jones. He had 8 targets, 6 for 40. He's a good floor tight end.
This is what you're going to get. 6 for 40 is the Evan Ingram special. That's the Evan Ingram 6 for 40. So I'm cool with that.
He's Zach Ertz.
That's a very startable. He's a better version of Zach Ertz. Yes, yeah. Zach Ertz is 4 for 40. Evan Ingram is 6 for 40.
And then Minnesota's kicker. They've just produced 2 of them this year. Parker Romo, 4 for 4. So keep an eye on him, replacing Will Reichard. Denver lost to Kansas City, 16-14.
No, they didn't.
They missed a game-winning field goal because Kansas City blocked it. And I don't know if you saw the guard. His stance was bad. Like, Kansas City knew. They knew they were blocking that kick.
There were 4 or 5 guys that were going to block that kick if it wasn't the guy who blocked. I've never seen so many people eligible and able to block a kick.
Yeah,
it's usually just one guy. It was literally 4 or 5 guys on this team that were about to block this kick. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's fucking insane.
Gut-wrenching loss for Denver, but Bo Nix looked great. Continues to look good. He has been so much fun to watch, and I'll eat it on him. I just thought he'd be an okay pro and like a middling fantasy option. He's playing really well. Sean Payton's doing work with him.
Yeah.
I think he's
I liked Bo Nix, but I didn't even expect him to be.
I think he's a low-end QB1 going forward for fantasy. He's got so much rushing upside. I mean, he didn't get it here against Kansas City, only negative 5 yards.
5 rushing yards.
But he's averaging almost 30 yards a game rushing.
Yeah.
So 2 touchdowns, 215 through the air. Like, he's getting it done in the passing game as well, which I didn't see coming. And Patrick Mahomes continues to just kind of be this middling quarterback in fantasy. Another decent game. 266-1. He's matchup based going forward for me, but as we've brought up here the last few weeks, like it's tough to bench Patrick Mahomes because of name, but he's dwindle those expectations. The biggest story here for Denver
back to Bo Nix real quick though. He has 4 rushing touchdowns. He has games where he had 75 rushing yards, 65. So like that's just free points. Like the rushing touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. That's 24 free points you've got so far this year. Expect another couple rushing touchdowns. There's a chance Bo Nix finishes with like 7-8 rushing touchdowns on the year. Yeah. That's like going to be more than a lot of running backs. So like, what are we talking about here? Bo Nix is a decent fantasy option.
Yeah, I think you can almost lock him in every week as your quarterback if you have him. Like if you were the Dak Prescott owner, or if you just been streaming dudes, or you just lost confidence with Jared Goff after the 5 interception game. I think Bo Nix is a guy you can just plug into your lineup, or even if you're the Patrick Mahomes owner, you can get Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix provides.
I'm looking at his schedule, and he's got a lot of games that Atlanta. I'm cool playing him versus.
That's going to be a shootout.
Vegas, I'm cool playing him.
Yep.
The Browns, I'm cool playing him.
Yep.
Then he's got a bye. I'm cool playing him versus Indy. The
Mm-hmm.
Chargers.
Tough defense.
That'll
I'd
be
bench him that week.
Yeah, that one I'm a little iffy off. And then he's got Cincinnati in the finals.
Shoot him
That's
up.
going to be a fucking shootout, dude.
That game's going to determine who makes the playoffs, possibly. If Cincinnati can get any sort of run going.
I'm talking fantasy files.
No.
They have a game
life,
after that.
yeah.
But the fantasy finals, you have Bo Nix versus Cincinnati, but they end the season with Kansas City.
Yeah.
So that's a huge, like, let's get this game again. Last week of the year. Come on. This was a great game. I'll happily run it back the last week of the year.
Audric Estime, though, the biggest story there in Denver, he was the guy. 14 carries for
backfield.
53 yards. Javonte Williams had 1 carry.
1 carry, 1 yard.
Yep. Javonte did have passing work. He was the passing back. He was the only running back to receive targets. Jaleel McLaughlin had 2 carries for 12 yards. But I think you sit on Javonte for 1 more week. If they come out and it's the same situation again next week and Audric Estime has 14 to 15 carries and Javonte has less than 5, you can move on from him.
Yeah. Definitely take Javonte out of your starting lineup. Do not start this man next week.
Yeah.
It's not going to be worth it. Even Estime, I'm really not going to start. The 14 for 53 is fine, but I'm going to need more than that. The not being used at all in the receiving work, that's rough.
He's 0 targets on the year.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen for PPR leagues. So he's fully touchdown dependent for starting wise.
Cortland Sutton, 6 for 70 and 1.
Start that dude.
He's a guy we've been talking about
dude.
as a good trade option. Yep. He continues. Him and Bo Nix are developing a really nice chemistry. Devon Valey, he had a touchdown, 4 for 39, his typical stat line though. And then Kansas City, Kareem Hunt continues to be great, 14 for 35. Not great there, but 7 for 65 through the air. They did open up the practice window for Isaiah Pacheco, so be prepared to potentially not having Kareem Hunt for the fantasy playoffs.
That's just going to be the problem. People aren't going to realize that Kareem Hunt's going to get you to the playoffs. He's not going to be reliable in the playoffs. Maybe the first week of the playoffs. But once Pacheco's back, I think they're just going to...
Yeah, I do think they use all 3 weeks of the window. So I think you got 3 more weeks as Kareem Hunt being the guy.
Yeah, so that gives you Buffalo, Carolina, Vegas, and then the Chargers. Pacheco should be back.
I think you see a split against the Chargers. Real tough defense. I imagine they'll kind of ease him in.
I think you see a split versus the Chargers and the Browns, to be honest. I think it's 2 weeks of split, but then it's literally the playoffs. Then you got Houston and Pittsburgh for fantasy playoffs. So I think it's going to be Pacheco on the back end of the year.
Yeah.
So he's a good trade option, though, if your trade deadline hasn't passed and you have Kareem Hunt. If you have the option to snag Pacheco from someone for the cheap. So just try to lock up Kansas City's backfield for the rest of the year.
DeAndre Hopkins was 4 for 56. Fine game from him. Xavier Worthy, you can cut that guy. He's 1 for 11. He's just not doing it.
I was so worried after week 1. I'm like, okay, I think we called this wrong. I think he's going to be better than I thought he was going to be. No,
he's exactly how we pinned him.
He's dropping all these passes. He's schemed into big plays. Xavier Worthy is exactly who we thought Xavier Worthy was, and I don't think he's not going to be worth that first round pick.
No. Travis Kelce was great though, 8 for 64 and 1.
Oh, phenomenal.
And,
Tutty.
Yeah, he's been his splits since DeAndre Hopkins got there have been incredible.
Yeah, he is. So good, dude. He's probably the tight end I would want most going forward, to be honest.
Yeah. Atlanta, they lost to the Rizzler and the New Orleans Saints, 20-17.
Unbelievable. I cannot believe they lost this game, dude.
The Carr came in 269 and 2 through the air. Nice game from Derek Carr, and he was hitting up Marquez Valdez-Scantling because that's where we are right now in New Orleans. 3 for 109 and 2.
He literally averaged 36 yards a target.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Am
I what?
You picking him up?
No.
Is he worth a pickup? I agree. Someone's gonna
some idiot's going to.
I think if you're, just riding out the season, you're not gonna make the playoffs, pick him up.
If you
And
need guys that have huge
Yeah.
ceilings, literally 30-point ceilings, but their floor is 0.
yeah, we've seen this
that's
in
MVS.
Green Bay. Yeah. But if you're
his gap is legitimately 30 to 1.
yeah,
30 to 0.
if you're that
That's his
1,
spread.
2, 3 win team and you're just trying to play spoiler, MVS could do that
exactly.
for you. You could be the top fledged team if MVS dropping 31 points in PPR.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unbelievable performance. His high on the year was 2.9 week 1, and then 1.7, and then he comes in and drops 30.
Yeah, that's how bad things are in New Orleans. They have nobody
on 3 catches.
Yep. Bub Means on IR. Chris Olave probably not going to play again this year. Rashid Shaheed on IR. But Mason Tipton's not
Olave
a thing.
should not play.
He should
Olave
take the
needs
year.
to
They're
take the
done.
whole year off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara, nice game, 17 for 55, 5 catches, 54 yards.
Kamara is a guy that you want on your team.
Yeah. Bijan Robinson on the other side continues to be great.
Also a guy you want on your team.
116 and 2, 3 for 28 through the air. Drake London with his old man hip came out, 12 targets, 8 for 97. You'll take that. Darnell Mooney had a nice game as well. 5 for 96 on 10 targets. Those guys have been good. Kyle Pitts, 4 for 55 from tight end. Okay, you're going to take that 9.5 in PPR. New Orleans, though, is there any fantasy options on this team outside Kamara? Do you take a shot on Taysom Hill? Like, I think he's the only one that I'd be willing to even slide into my lineup.
I think there's just enough streamable tight ends at this point where I'm not willing to take a pull on
Taysom Hill.
On Taysom Hill?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Kamara. Are you worried about Atlanta losing this game going forward?
What's Taysom Hill's high on the year? 16. Yeah. He's got 2 double digits on the year. It's just a risky call. That's always been Taysom Hill, though. But no, I'm not worth it. What was your question?
Atlanta, you worried about them at all losing this game to the Saints?
No. I mean, real life, maybe, but their fantasy options still produce. Bijan had a great game. London had a great game. Mooney had a great game.
I was talking real life.
I think they're still Atlanta. I think they're going to finish 9 wins.
Possibly win the division.
10 wins.
Tampa keeps losing these close games without any of their weapons.
They got a bye, right? Tampa's on a bye, and then Mike Evans comes back.
Mike Evans should be back. Speaking of Tampa, they lost 23-20 to the 49ers. Yet another close game. Baker's
trying his best.
Wasn't great this game, 116 and 1, but he did his best to win. He drove them down the field to win this game, and the Niners just happened.
Phenomenal plays.
He freaking
on the back end of that
Nick
game.
Bosa off him. Like, Baker Mayfield's playing dog football. He is putting this team on his back and doing his best to make them competitive. Like, he's keeping them afloat without all their weapons. Like,
yeah, I agree.
This man deserves his flowers. Brock Purdy was incredible. 353, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey back, 13 carries for 39 yards. Passing game involvement, though, 6 for 68, made for a really good fantasy day for him. Jordan Mason, completely uninvolved. Like, you can drop him unless you're the Christian McCaffrey owner. Then keep him.
Yeah, 100%. If you have both of them, keep them. But if you don't have McCaffrey and you just have Mason, you just got to dip him at this point. It's unfortunate. Try to trade him to the McCaffrey owner if you still have the trades. Just try to get something for him, fab money or
even if it's
anything.
Fab, Niners.
Let me quick ask you a question about Rashad White on the other side of the ball. He's played in 8 games this year. How many times has he broke double digits in the full PPR?
7.
I lied. He played 9 games. 9 games, and it is 7. He's broke double digits 7 of the 9. It's only 2 weeks he hasn't. He's been so good the last 4 weeks.
He's better with a compliment.
And they're on a bye this week. So like if you could try to trade for him now, and like teams aren't realizing, oh, he's on a bye, I'll just trade him. It is what it is. He has a great back end of the season schedule. He plays the Giants, Carolina, Vegas,
in our home league. I'm
Dallas and Carolina. Rashad White is going to be a guy that's going to be played on a lot of back end of the stretch games.
Yep.
He's a guy that you really want to be.
I would even target Bucky Irving If you can't get Rashad White, Bucky Irving will be much cheaper to acquire for you. And like, I have Bucky Irving in our home league, and I was peeping that back end schedule like, wow, Bucky Irving might find his way into my lineup when it matters.
Yeah, big games.
Yeah, him and White were both great against the Niners. White 10 for 31, classic Rashad White rushing line, 3 yards a carry, but
for
6 for 39 through the air and the touchdown. Bucky Irving, the more efficient runner, 13 for 73 and a touchdown. He had 3 grabs as well for 14 yards. The Niners receiving crew was great. You know, Ricky Pearsall, 4 for 73, touchdown. Juwan Jennings, 7 for 93. Debo was even fine as the third option per se. 3 carries for 14, 5 for 62 for him. And George Kittle, 3 for 57 and 1. Like, it's crazy how much Christian McCaffrey being back has opened this offense back up.
Yeah, McCaffrey is that guy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it is unlimited work. He came in here and he looked so good, dude. His receiving yards, 6 for 68, dude. Like, McCaffrey's such a game changer, dude.
Yeah.
He is unbelievably talented.
Brock Purdy, I think, is pretty much a lock-it-in QB1 going forward. I think you're going to play him pretty much every week.
Yeah.
And the Niners could be a team to reckon with. They might go into the playoffs.
He does have really tough matchups coming up. I'll give him that. He has Seattle, which is a good matchup. But then after that, besides week 18, he plays no green matchups. So, like, his playoff runs, if you have anyone that's, like, matchup-wise better, it's going to be rough.
Yeah. I think he'll be fine. I think the Niners...
I think he's going to be a lower-end quarterback one. Where I think he's going to be in the streaming territory. I just think that's where it comes down to.
Yeah. All right. Pittsburgh beat Washington 28-27.
Sad, but great game.
The Steelers offense has been cooking with Russell Wilson.
Let Russ cook. Let Russ cook, baby boy.
He's been a top 10 quarterback 2 of the 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
yeah, for sure.
He's got a good matchup this week. I think Russell Wilson's a great streaming candidate for you. Against Baltimore. Yeah,
Justin
Look
Fields
what Joe Burrow just did.
Fields was a top 10 quarterback twice out of his 6 starts. So, like, Russell Wilson's doing it at a way higher rate than Fields.
And they're scoring. That's where the difference is. They're scoring. Like,
100%.
Russell Wilson, yard-wise and completion percentage, like 14 for 28, not great. 195 yards, but 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. You know, the run game's been better. This was the
first game, though, where his attempts weren't, like, 16 for 29 first week, but 20 for 28 week 2. Like, for him.
Yeah.
So, like, he's been really good.
Yeah. George Pickens had an incredible catch for his touchdown. He was 5 for 91. He also bodied a corner on an interception.
Bagged the poor corner.
That dude's a trip.
The guy that didn't even have anything to do with the play. He was just, I'm not going to catch that guy with the ball, so I'm just going to body bag this guy right here next to me.
Mike Williams, first week in the offense, 1 for 32 and a touchdown. I wouldn't be rostering him, but just keep an eye on him. His involvement, if he goes up and, you know, Pittsburgh keeps passing and scoring, Mike Williams is a potential flex guy. Like, he should be playing way more than Van Jefferson down the line.
I think he will be. And he really just helps George Pickens out a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really cover both these guys over the top. So, like, Pickens is going to have a huge, huge back end of the year.
Yeah. Freiermuth was 3 for 17 with a touchdown. You look into that at all? Freiermuth, any sort of fantasy relevance going forward? Yeah, I agree. Jaden Daniels had a rough game. 17 for 34, 202, no touchdowns, only 5 yards rushing. And, you know, he's the closest thing we got to Lamar Jackson. Pittsburgh sees Lamar Jackson twice a year. So if anyone's going to be prepared to play Jaden Daniels, it's going to be Mike Tomlin. And it came to show, but Washington hung. Like, this is still a good football team. Like, and this is like, we haven't really seen Jaden Daniels have a lot of bad games. He had a not so great game, and they were hanging in. Austin Eckler looked great. 2 touchdowns, 44 yards. No real passing work.
I'll take the W on that one.
Yeah, you're right. Saved by the 2 touchdowns, but still, hey, you're going to score points. You're going to score points. Doesn't matter how it happens.
And I think that's what I knew without Robinson. I'm like, Eckler has just the chance of getting in the end zone. I didn't think it was going to be twice. Yeah. So, like, I'm really happy with his outcome here.
Yeah, but this team did miss Brian Robinson. They needed, like, your workhorse back to pound Like to wear out that
Especially versus
Pittsburgh defense. Yeah. Terry McLaurin, though, continues to put up numbers. 5 for 113.
Dude.
Like, he's been
I'm
great.
so happy he has a good quarterback now, dude. Like, Terry McLaurin is so talented. And it's just all coming together now for him and Daniels and Eckler and Robinson when healthy.
Early during the summer,
amazing.
He was being drafted as like real early ADPs, like wide receiver 29, and we're like, this is too good of a value. Like, at best, at worst, he's a wide receiver 2. And he's going 29. Get that value, but Washington, besides Eckler and McLaurin, no real fantasy value on the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, full PPR leagues, he's wide receiver 7.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, dude.
He's he's been under the radar.
He's been so consistent all year. He started off week 1 and 2 were slow, but he was your rookie quarterback. And after that, his lowest after that is 15 points. Almost 16. He's been so consistent, dude. Yeah. I love seeing Terry McLaurin have this year, dude.
Yeah. Chargers.
I am really interested to see how high he goes in fantasy next year. I think he's going to go pretty
I think you could see your Commanders guys being him and Daniels. I don't think the running backs, Robinson and Eckler.
No, I think Robinson has the jump.
Okay.
Robinson's been really good consistently his whole career.
But he's
never really gets drafted
name.
at his.
So he's a boring name. I think he just slides under the radar.
He is, but
he doesn't have a ton.
But
I
think
upside.
Washington's offense is going to be.
He's one of those.
He's healthy. He does.
He's one of those good floor running backs where I just think he ends up in that range of like. Where's he going this year? The 6th? I think he stays about there this year.
I thought he was going like the 8th.
I think towards like hell, I think towards closer to like the season, his ADP was up higher. I might just be thinking of our league because he went early in our league. I think he went like the 4th in our home league.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Bill took him from me.
That sounds like a Bill move.
Chargers beat the Titans 27-17. Look out, the Chargers are hot. Justin Herbert hasn't had an interception in like 10 weeks.
Yeah. They've completely changed the way they fucking are moving the ball. It's great to watch.
Yeah. But hey, Will Levis didn't turn the ball over today or Sunday.
He had 2 tutties too. He looked decent.
Yeah. Getting some time off.
Versus a decent defense too. It was a good defense.
And didn't have a healthy Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was banged up. He only played 50% of the snaps.
18 for 23?
Yeah.
18 for 23, dude, for Will Levis, dude. Like that's a career game right there, brother.
No turnovers, no fumbles, no interceptions. Mm-hmm. How many times was he sacked? 7. That checks out.
Still can't read the blitz.
Yeah. But hey, one thing at a time. But yeah, Tony
exactly. You can't wish for too much.
Yeah, Tony Pollard was banged up. He only played 50-some% of the snaps, so we could probably say goodbye to the 80% Tony Pollard because Tyjae Spears came back and he looked good.
Yeah, he's back.
Tennessee's going to be better with both guys there, but Tony Pollard was 9 for 44, 4 catches for 19, and then Tyjae Spears 7 for 47, 3 for 4.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin Ridley continues to look better, 5 for 84, 2 touchdowns. They're finally figuring out how to get their best player in the passing game involved. So
I'm going to read you the remaining schedule for Calvin Ridley. It's Minnesota, Houston,
great
Washington,
matchup.
Jacksonville,
great matchup.
Cincinnati,
great
Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and then week 18, it doesn't matter for fantasy, but it's Houston. He has every single matchup left is a green matchup. Calvin Ridley is at worst flexed in your lineup.
I've been trying to trade for Calvin Ridley in our home league, and it keeps getting rejected.
Yeah, like this was his last tough matchup. It was a red matchup. He went out there and put up fucking 5 for 84 and 2 touchdowns.
Yep. Yeah,
Calvin Ridley is going to have a really, really good back end of the season. He's not a good name, and it's going to be not fun, but Calvin Ridley is going to produce for you.
Yeah.
No questions.
Yeah, because Tennessee's not going to be winning a ton of football games, so they're going to be playing from behind. And clearly he's the guy in this offense passing game-wise. But Justin Herbert, 14 for 18. That's a John Harbaugh stat. Yeah. 164 touchdown, sure. Had a rushing touchdown. He's been really good. Gus Edwards returned, and He had a little
He
juice.
He
looked
healthy.
He had to be hurt coming into the year. Then there was just
100%.
because he looked terrible, and now he looked like old Gus Edwards, 5.5 a clip, no touchdown, but he was out there. It was pretty much a good split there because J.K. Dobbins was only 15 for 50, so 5 carry difference, and J.K. Dobbins is looking like Gus Edwards did week 1. He is looking slow, looking sluggish. Yeah. So Gus Edwards, if he's out there on your waivers, throw $1 at him of fab, and he could end up just sliding back into this role, and you want the Chargers lead back, and if it's Gus Edwards, you got a nice little flex option.
Yeah, I think him being back really does take from Dobbins. The 5.5 a clip almost doubled his high on the season. His high on the year was 3.2.
Yeah.
So that's 6.4. So it's almost a yard. Like 5.5 a clip is great for Gus. That's almost his career average.
Mm-hmm.
So he was definitely not himself week 1 through 4. So I'm glad he was able to get put on the IR. He took time off and he came back. He looked great too. Like he looked like in shape. He looked like he slimmed down a little bit in the few weeks he was out. Chargers look like they're really, really starting to produce here, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun Sunday night game then versus Kansas City. Quentin Johnson scored again.
That'll be fun.
2 for 24,
yeah,
but another touchdown. This guy's just scoring every week coming out here, and he's becoming a flex guy.
He's got 5 touchdowns on the year.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey, disappointing game, 2 for 52, but you're still going to play him, especially like Cincinnati. I think Huge and Ladd are both in play with how bad the Bengals' pass defense is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for
really,
sure.
Though, is Will Dissly a playable option? 6 targets, 5 for 30. He's been getting work.
That game versus Cleveland really scares me, where he was 2 for 9. But the week before that, man,
7 targets, 5 for 41.
Arizona.
Yeah, 11 targets for 8 for 81.
And he's got he's the Calvin Ridley of tight ends. So he's got all green matchups for the rest of the year. Every single one's a green matchup. So, I mean, he's streamable if you're really hurting, dude. Like, there is definitely guys I would rather stream. But, hey, man, he's probably going to be good for like 7-8 points every week.
Him or Jake Ferguson?
You shut your mouth, because I probably have to start Jake Ferguson in our home week this week, and I really don't want to. And now I'm looking at Will Dissly, and I'm like, do I just cut Jake Ferguson and pick up Will Dissly because I have Kate Otten?
Go from Big Biscuit to Big Montana.
Man, I'm going to be hurting at that tight end position this week. I didn't think missing Kate Otten would be such a dreadful position.
Yeah, Will Dissly, though, he's been involved. Arizona whooped up on the Jets. I told you. I had picked the Cardinals. They were going to win 31-6. The Jets looked terrible. Maybe
I'm glad they got Devontae Adams, though. It's really fixing all their problems.
Now they can't find anybody to fix it. Trade deadline's over. So they're stuck. Maybe the quarterback's the problem.
For players, they can bring in coaches. Don't you worry.
Maybe the quarterback's the problem.
What? No.
Aaron Rodgers, 22 for 35 for 151 and a fumble.
Nope.
Yeah, bad game for the Jets, just all around. Like Breece Hall, 10 for 52. You thankfully got some passing work, 4 for 31.
Some saved it a little bit, but man, it was bad all around.
Garrett Wilson, 5 for 41. Devontae Adams, 6 for 31 on 13 targets. Yeah, nobody, not a single Jets player was like produced anything that you were happy with. And then it was the opposite. Arizona, Kyler Murray was great. 2 rushing touchdowns, passing touchdown.
So good.
2 incompletions, 22 for 24, 266 with the 3 total touchdowns. James Conner's just a dog, 5 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, or a 40-yard catch. He had a rushing touchdown on 33 rushing yards. Trey Benson's got juice. Like, he's looking way better than he did to start the year. James Conner owners should be getting this guy on their roster, because James Conner has never finished a full season. We're on pace for him to do so, but
we are.
You should just be weary that James Conner, he runs hard, he gets banged up. Trey Benson should be on your bench as a James Conner owner, but 10 for 62 for him. He had 25 yards through the air as well. Marv, 5 for 54.
RB22.
Yeah, Marv was 5 for 54.
The week before that, Trey Benson's a name to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah,
RB24 2 weeks ago and an RB22 last week.
Yeah, he's been getting involved. They've been using him more. And Trey McBride.
He's finished RB2.
4 for 71, no touchdown. They tried.
They're surprised. They did try. They tried, I think, twice. And I'm like, wow, surprised. But hey, man, I'll take 4 for 71. That's a very Trey McBride kind of game.
Yeah,
they got to buy, and then he's got a lot of good matchups.
Yeah, he's been great. You've been sans the touchdowns. You're happy with Trey McBride. As a Trey McBride owner, I love just having a guy who can lock in with 12 points.
You throw 2-3 touchdowns on his stat line, dude.
He
would be having a phenomenal season.
Yeah. He's getting that Kyle Pitts rookie year where he's just not scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Speaking of not scoring touchdowns, the Dallas Cowboys. 34-6 loss to the Eagles. Trey Lance got some playing time. He was 4 for 6, 21 yards, and an interception.
I'm just now seeing their quarterback's fantasy points.
And he was the backup quarterback, and he scored more points than the starting quarterback, Cooper Rush, who was 13 for 23 for 45 yards with 2 lost fumbles.
That's one of the worst starts of all time.
And they're putting him back out there again next week. Well, this week.
Is that true?
Yeah, they've announced that Cooper Rush is going to be the quarterback this week. And
but why?
I don't know. Trey Lance must be the worst practice-looking player.
I have never once in my life advocated for Trey Lance. I
love Trey Lance.
I am now sitting here advocating for Trey Lance. If there is any bit of saving CeeDee Lamb's fantasy output and Jake Ferguson's, it is not going to be with Cooper Rush. That offensive line is horrendous. Trey Lance can at least move. Mm-hmm. You got to get him onto the field, dude. It's not going to be Cooper Rush.
You traded a 4th-round pick for this guy.
Yeah. Imagine if you didn't and you had a good running back, but hey, who are we to try to make any type of NFL
Rico
decision?
Dowdle is
fine.
Is the Cowboys' best offensive player according to PFF grades. Better than CeeDee Lamb.
Cool. You believe that?
No, but I think Rico Dowdle is a good running back.
So then don't bring it up.
Hey, I think if Dak Prescott hadn't got hurt, Rico Dowdle's an RB2 the rest of the season.
Man, that's rough. He has 1 game, 2 games, 3 games on the year where he's been an RB2.
Yeah, but now it's his backfield. It wasn't his backfield those games.
Yeah, I get that. But I don't want anyone from this backfield. He's involved
in the passing game. Well, I don't want him anymore because Cooper Rush and Trey Lance are the worst 2-headed quarterback combo in the league.
I mean, I'm
saying with Dak,
out on Dallas.
I'm saying if Dak was there, Rico Dowdle is a RB2 going forward. But he was efficient though. 12 for 53, 3 catches, 3 yards. He put up comparable numbers to Saquon. But I mean, the Eagles blew him out. So CeeDee Lamb though, 10 targets, 6 catches for 21 yards.
I think his ceiling is 7 for 60 and a touchdown, which you would love, but that's not going to happen every week. You might get that once or twice.
He might be just like the elite version of Wan'Dale Robinson with Cooper Rush and
the rest
Trey
of the
Lance.
year. Yeah, his stat lines are going to be really, really bad for the rest of the year. He's going to be peppered with targets, but man, they're going to be bad. And they're going to be bad targets, brother.
Jake Ferguson, 5 targets, 4 for 24. He fumbled, so that didn't help.
Yeah.
And then from the Eagles, Jalen Hurts was great. 200 yards, 4 total touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He did fumble, did throw an interception, but it's whatever.
Cool with it.
Yeah. Saquon, you're just going to eat that one. 66 yards. They didn't need him.
Yeah, Hurts had the tush push, and then he also had a 15-yard touchdown where he just actually ran the ball, and he looked great. It is what it is. It's going to happen when you have Hurts. A rushing quarterback's going to take the touchdowns occasionally.
A.J. Brown, 5 for 109. Dog. And then that was it. They didn't need Devonta Smith, 2 for 14. Dallas Goedert saved by a touchdown, 2 for 25 and a tutty. it was really the only Eagles worth playing were the defense, and then Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. But
Smith has been questionable Monday and Tuesday with a hamstring injury, so I don't know if he was like kind of banged up in the game.
He was questionable going into the game.
Yeah, so I'm not really worried about it. Johnny Wilson had a nice touchdown. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was
he had
a nice
touchdown,
catch.
And they brought up how he was like 6'6", and he's the tallest receiver drafted, and yada yada. And Mom was like, "That guy's 6'6", and he's the tallest receiver. That's not that tall." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, 6'6" isn't that tall for a receiver. And I'm like, AJ Brown's like 6'1". That guy's got 5 inches on AJ Brown, who plays like a giant. Yeah. Johnny Wilson is a legitimate giant.
Yeah, Johnny Wilson's a tight end. He's large.
I mean, he runs clean. No.
So he's built like a tight end.
100%. He's huge. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Sunday Night Football, Detroit somehow pulled off a win, 26-23 over Houston. We might be destined for a Detroit-Kansas City Super Bowl. Everything's going that way with how things are just going in both these teams' favors. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Then they won this football game. 2 touchdowns. Not a great game for Jared Goff. 15 for 30, 240, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That is the complete opposite of what Detroit wants Jared Goff to do. They want Jared Goff making high percentage throws, smart throws, not turn the ball over. And he had a 50% completion percentage and 5 interceptions.
Yeah, the ideal Goff stat line is like 15 for 23, 220 and a touchdown or 2, and then no turnovers. Play the ball clean, get the ball to Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yep, and even Gibbs, 19 carries, 71 yards, 2 for 37 through the air, didn't score. Montgomery only had 12 carries. Like, he wasn't getting used early on because they were down so much, so it affected his game. He thankfully scores to save your fantasy game.
Once it got half close, Montgomery started getting on that field a lot, and he started eating away at that defense.
Yeah, 12 for 32.
Montgomery's so good, dude.
He scored, so you're happy with that. And then, Amon-Ra, 6 for 60 and a touchdown. Jameson Williams, though, he's back, 3 for 53.
5 targets. They were getting him involved at least. I honestly wasn't going to play him this week, but I'm glad that they got him 5 targets. I didn't think he was going to be this involved, to be honest.
And then Sam Laporta, he's hurt now, so we'll see if he's going to play this week, but 3 for 66 and a touchdown.
From the interviews from Dan Campbell, it seems like Laporta's not going to play.
Yeah, that's what I've read, that
he's unlikely day to day, but I expect him to miss this week.
Yeah, so we could be looking at a boom week for Jameson Williams. C.J. Stroud,
for sure.
Strong first half, and then the second half just disappeared. 19 for 33, 232. He threw 2 interceptions, did have a touchdown. Joe Mixon, inefficient numbers on the ground, 25 for 46. Pulling in that Rachaad White stat line. 1 touchdown, 2 for 44 through the air. John Mechie, great story. Beating cancer, missing his whole rookie season. 5 for 74 and 1. Nico Collins should be back on Monday, but
he'll be back.
John Mechie could be in the Steph Diggs role. We don't know. Like, everyone would say he was a 1 week thing in Nico's role. Well, let's not forget Steph Diggs is also out, so we could be coming in where John Mechie plays the Diggs role, Tank Dell stays in his role, Nico obviously in his role.
Is Nico?
I think with C.J. Stroud going forward with Nico in, I think he's a more comfortable play. I still think he's a streaming option, but I think you can play him more confidently with Nico Collins in the lineup than you can without, and that's been the case all year for the Texans.
Yeah, I agree.
And they got Dallas this week, so lucky them. Monday night.
Back to Joe Mixon, though. I didn't expect him to be a ton of rushing, but I'm glad they just still had the confidence to give him the ball, even though it wasn't working per se. With the 25 carries, still, I'm extremely happy with that. He found the end zone. Mixon's just been so fucking good all season, dude. Yeah.
And then Monday night,
it sucks he missed time because that's so unlike Joe Mixon. I would love to see what Mixon's full season would be, dude.
Yeah,
he would be pushing RB1 territory.
Monday Night Football, Miami beats the Rams 23-15. Ugh. So all those games we differed on last week swung in my favor. I hit on all 4 of them.
I believe that. I did end up changing my pick to the Niners on our pick 'em.
Oh, okay. So then, if had we done that, I would have put 5. All 5 swung in my favor. So next week, well, this coming week's gonna be a disaster for me.
No, I picked Tampa. I picked Tampa in our thing. I swung
I
to
thought
the
you picked
Niners.
Tampa on the podcast.
No, I did, but then I swung to the Niners, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I picked Tampa.
Okay. Tua, not great. Had a touchdown, interception, had a fumble. Matt Stafford, not great. 293, interception, no touchdowns. The Miami running game, Raheem Mostert had no carries. Jalen Wright had 5 for 3 yards. Malik Washington had a carry for 18 and a touchdown. Achane was 12 for 37. He did have 5 catches for 15 yards. Like, the Miami offense just looked bad all around. But
yeah, I don't know how they won this game.
Defense looked great.
I get that, but even then, it's still crazy that they won this game. It's so weird.
6 QB hits, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, interception. The defense did a great job.
Yeah, but like Tua had all that as well. It just doesn't. It doesn't add up when you're looking at the stat sheet. Is all I'm saying. When you look at the stat sheet, the Rams should have walked away.
Because the Rams just all they did was kick field goals.
Yeah,
Miami at least scored a touchdown. 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what it came down to.
Yeah. Malik Washington.
It was a bad game.
Great to see him involved. 1 carry for 18 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill was saved. 2 for 11 and a touchdown. Or 2 for 11
He's double
on the
digits
ground. 3 for 16.
He's had double digits every week since Tua's been back.
Yeah, but it's been like 10, 10, and 11.
Hey, man, I'll take that over the 7, 7,
yeah,
6,
but
2 he was
still,
getting without
that's not
Tua.
what you want for Tyreek Hill.
I'm not saying it's not.
So, like, I don't know how much of this hand injury is playing into effect. He's apparently
for the whole Dolphins offense.
No, well, I meant for Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill.
I know, but for the whole Dolphins offense,
Jalen Waddle
is questionable.
3 for 57.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle was fine. It's one of his better games. Yeah, Jonnu Smith, he's a stream guy at this point. 3 for 45.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a good matchup versus the Raiders. Puka and Cooper Kupp were great. 9 for 98 for Puka, 7 for 80 from Cooper Kupp.
Brought in every target. 7 for 7.
Kyron Williams, no touchdown again. It's back-to-back games.
Yeah,
62 yards. He did fumble. 5 catches for 20 though. So, an abysmal Monday night game. The Rams offense. The Rams, I'm worried about in terms of a real life team. I'm not worried about their fantasy guys.
Fantasy wise, I'm still starting.
And Miami, I am worried about their fantasy guys, and I'm also worried about that. I think they're a done team. I don't they think they have a chance. I don't.
No, I think it's a wrap for the Dolphins.
Yeah,
especially when you got Buffalo in that division. You're not going to catch Buffalo.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Thursday night football. It's a big one. The Eagles play the Washington Commanders divisional game. So we got back-to-back divisional games for Thursday night. Commanders coming off the loss. Eagles coming off the big win against the Cowboys. It's in Philadelphia. Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. An over-under of 48.5. You worried about Jaden Daniels coming off this bad week?
No.
Me either. You're going to play him.
You're going to play Hurts.
You're going to play Hurts. You're going to play AJ Brown. Devonta Smith's in. Terry McLaurin in.
Yep. Barkley's in. Eckler's in.
Yep. Brian Robinson, have we heard anything on him?
He's limited in walkthroughs all week.
Yeah, so I would expect him to be out.
Expect him not to be out there.
Get him an extra 10 days off. And really, I'm not going to fuck around with Dallas Goedert or Zach Ertz with bye weeks. I'm going to try to find a
Goddard
better
had a
upside.
touch. I would start Goddard. He had a touchdown. I get it was saving.
I think I'd rather start Ertz than Goddard. Maybe I'm just looking too much into Ertz versus the Eagles coming back home, running off that adrenaline because they're not going to boo him in Philadelphia.
Shit, man. I'm willing to start both these tight ends. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't like playing floor tight ends on a Thursday. Like I think,
get that,
like
but
I would start Jonnu Smith over both those guys.
I would not. I would start both of them over Jonnu.
I like Jonnu's matchup better against Vegas.
I mean, Dallas Goedert is a good matchup. Washington's good.
Yeah. Freiermuth wasn't great, though. 3 for 17. He scored.
All right, well, that's because Freiermuth isn't
and then
good.
Komet didn't do much against Washington either. I think you got to kind of look at Washington's defense a little differently just because, like, they've been playing better. So, like, whereas they were a matchup like, oh, you always play your guys versus Washington.
Yeah.
I think we got to kind of like, oh, it might not be as good of a match. Sort of like with Philly. Like, once Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell got in as starting guys, their defense has been way better.
See, I'd be cool with Goddard because Smith has been limited all in practice. So even if he plays, he's not going to be healthy.
If Devonta Smith doesn't play, I would play Goddard.
Even if he does, he's not going to be healthy. Like, Smith's going to end up playing because he's Smith, but he's not going to be fully involved. I'm cool with Goddard.
Who wins?
The Philly.
Yeah. I agree.
This might be one of the first times I've not picked Washington, but Philly's been so good lately, dude.
I also think Philadelphia wins this game as well. All right. Recaps done. Thursday Night Football done. Let's talk the 2025 NFL Draft. You already spoiled your guy. Your Tuesday spotlight. Potential Heisman frontrunner. Not anymore with Miami loss, but Heisman candidate. Miami, Florida quarterback. Cam
He'll be
Ward.
one of the final three.
Yeah. Him, Janty, Travis Hunter, Dylan Gabriel. All four of those guys pretty much locked in as the final four. Talk about Cam Ward. Your guy.
Alrighty, he's a 5-year senior. This is his 5th year, and he's played every year. He went to a little unknown school his first 2 years, the Incarnate Ward, where his first year he was all right. He did 24 touchdowns and 4 picks, but his second year, dude, he had 47 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, almost 5,000 yards. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a very safe play, and then he's transferred to the University of Washington State, where he's getting better every year. Like, I get the stat line from the 2021 to 22 wasn't an upgrade, but it's because he became a Division I college quarterback.
Competition.
Exactly, and he went out there and did 23-9, 3,000 yards, and the year after that he was 25-7. So touchdowns went up, picks went down, yards went up, and then he went to Miami and he's shining in the ACC. Like, he is so good, and you see the reps. He's 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, almost 3,500 yards, and we're not even done the season. And he's led Miami to undefeated until this week. They lost to Georgia Tech. But he's so poised when they're down. I'm not going to try to compare him to Matt Stafford because Matt Stafford's an all-time great quarterback when you're down in situations. But he has been down multiple times this season alone in Miami, and he has been with ease just brought this team back. He doesn't look flustered. He's poised in the pocket. He makes all the right throws. And then what do I have down for his he's a natural and easy thrower with the football. He's a phenomenal playmaker. He's very good at commanding the offense, and his arm ability is crazy, dude. Like, his deep ball is great. His medium ball is great, and they're always on a line. All of them are pinpointed throws. But he plays a little bit of a hero ball. He's a little Caleb Williams out there. He doesn't really check down.
Does.
That's an NFL flaw. Like, you need to learn to check down. You need to give. Like, if a defense is giving you 5-6 yards every play, dude, take it. 5 yards is a first down. And then we just keep moving. We don't need to go for take the top off every play. Oh, but he tries, and he does it with almost ease, though.
Yeah, so, it's all hit this year in terms of, like, those big plays. He's hitting on all of them.
Yeah.
Like, to beat Miami, you're not going to make Cam Ward look bad. It's trying to make him look normal.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
You'll be happy if Cam Ward puts up 302 on you.
Oh, 100%. You'd be like,
then.
oh, this was an all right game from Cam Ward. It wasn't phenomenal. He didn't have 4 or 5 touchdowns. But his progression is very, I don't want to compare him to Jaden Daniels, how good Jaden Daniels is. But the way he's been better every single year of college, he's transferred to better competition, and he's still continuously getting better every single year versus better competition. And that's just what you want out of a prospect. Like if they're showing you their abilities to get better every single year, they work on their weaknesses. Cam Ward has put his weaknesses up front every single year, and he's improved every single year. If you get this guy a legitimate coach, Brian Dable, and you coach the hell out of him, Cam Ward is going to be poised for NFL stardom. I'm 100% in as a Hurricane fan. I hope that God he lands with the New York Giants and I can just continuously love Cam Ward. I'm 100% in. He's right now my QB1, but we have a lot of time left. I'm not going to sit here and rag on Shadir Sanders. I don't like his personality. He has a lot of personality issues I do not like and find a huge red flags, but he is extremely talented. He is a very good quarterback. So it's going to be one of those guys sitting at the top of my board come our draft boards. Mm-hmm. But Cam Ward right now is my prospect that I'm throwing some spotlight onto.
Yeah, he's been so good this year, and he originally declared for last year's draft class, and thankfully he pulled himself out.
I'm so glad
entered the transfer portal, and he's moved himself into first round territory, just because of how weak the quarterback class is. And like last year, I had him and Shadur in similar spots. I had Shadur a little higher. Coming in, I had Shadur like with Bo Nix at the 6-7 range, and then Cam Ward was right after that. And right now, to me, Shadur and Cam Ward, they fluctuate for me. They're constantly switching between my QB1 and QB2, but I think they're the top tier. Like Jalen Milroe, I think he should go back to school, but he would be the next tier. I think by himself
right now. Yep.
Like it would be Shadur and Cam in tier 1, and then tier 2 is just Jalen Milroe, and then tier 3 is your Carson
everybody
Beck,
else.
Jackson Dart, Drew Aller, Quinn Ewers, guys who are like, okay. But yeah, no, I love Cam Ward. I think he's going to be a fine pro. I'm going a little off the radar, but tell me that you haven't heard this before. The LSU Tigers have a draftable wide receiver coming into the NFL draft.
What?
Let's see.
Surprise.
Since 2014, they're early round receivers that were drafted. So I'm not looking at
and that's 10 years. That's a huge sample size.
Yeah. So I'm looking
10 years.
First and second round only.
2014,
Odell Beckham Jr. Great. Jarvis Landry second round. Great. 2018, so big gap, big jump. Wasn't much in between there. DJ Shark, fine, but not worth the second round pick. But he's still in the league.
He's still playing. Yeah.
And then Russell Gage was a 6th round pick, but 2020, Justin Jefferson, 1st round.
Dog.
2021, Jamar Chase, 1st round.
Dog.
Terrace Marshall Jr., 2nd round.
A little tiny dog.
2024, Malik Neighbors, 1st round. Brian Thomas Jr., 1st round. Keyshawn Butte was in there. He's been playing better in New England, but 6th round guy in 2023. Now I'm bringing in Kyron Lacey from LSU, transferred over a couple years ago from Louisiana, a Raging Cajun. There he was just a guy, 364 yards as a freshman, 304 yards as a sophomore. Transfers to LSU in 2022, only 268. And then last year, obviously 2023, playing behind Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., but 30 catches for 558, 7 touchdowns. Career high across the board. This year in 9 games, already career highs, 46 catches, 697 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's a clean route runner, a better route runner than Brian Thomas was coming out.
That was my gripe on BTJ.
Yeah, he's also phenomenal at tracking the ball. He's playing the Malik Neighbors role of this offense. Great ball tracker, great route runner, beats the defense over the top. He attacks the ball. I just love what he brings. Like he plays that Malik Neighbors role. Obviously not as talented as Malik Neighbors, but there might only be 10 players at the wide receiver position as talented as Malik Neighbors is. But this guy,
pretty generous, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just this guy, Kyron Lacey. He's in my top 10 right now. Like I like this receiving class. Like last year's receiving class, we hyped up Marv, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, Keon Coleman, those guys. Wasn't a lot of depth though. Like it was real top heavy.
Yeah.
This class, I think you have a ton of depth, and I think Kyron Lacey fits in. I have a late 2nd, early 3rd round grade on this guy. He's going to be in my top 75. I have him right now at wide receiver 7 of the 15 guys I've really like dug into. I think he's a great 6'2", 213. He's not a slender dude. He's a big body for a wide receiver.
Good size, yeah.
Yeah, and he comes out, he attacks the ball. I think we're looking at another potentially great wide receiver coming from Louisiana State.
Yeah, they know how to produce them, dude. Them and Ohio State are just going to be turning out receivers for the next decade, and I'm so excited for all of the receivers that they produce.
No, we got an Ohio State guy in this draft, Emeka Ibuka.
We do.
Looking good again.
Who I am huge, big fan of. I'm sure we'll talk about him at some point. I'm a big fan of his. He sits pretty close to my receiver 2 or 3, to be honest. I'm a big fan.
He's my receiver 4 right now, Emeka Ibuka.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the top 25 grade on him currently.
For sure.
Yeah.
He was almost a first-round guy in my eyes last year when he thought about coming out. So I think he's going to be a first-round guy.
Yep. Yeah, great receiving class, and I wanted to throw some spotlight on a guy who's not getting a ton of buzz in Kyron Lacey, but guy, like I said, I have a second-round grade on him. I think he ends up probably going in the third round, but I think team's getting a good big body guy, like 6'2", 213. That's not a small dude out there.
Yeah, he's got great size. He runs clean routes. He's always went to the mecca of receiver colleges, so that's a big draft up. Teams love if a team produces receivers. Look at Iowa and tight ends. Like, these guys get drafted just based off where they go to school. They're looking at traits. So just going to LSU is going to get you looked at by scouts. Mm-hmm. He's got a good chance to go second round.
Yeah.
So for sure.
My biggest thing is, can he be a wide receiver 1? And this is his first, he's never really had the chance to do it, but this year he's been really good for Garrett Nussmeier, who, if he enters the draft, he could see first round hype. He's looked good, but he's had flaws. I think he should be another guy who goes back to school. But Kyron Lacey, like I said, he's right now my receiver 7. He'd be my receiver 8 if I included Travis Hunter in my receiving board. He's a tough one to rank. I think he's a better corner, but I think he could be a great wide receiver at the next level as well.
He wants to do both, dude. He's pretty set on doing both. It's going to be very hard to do at the NFL level, but he is set on doing both. So,
well, he's number one. He's number 1 on my big board, Travis Hunter. Just overall,
as he should,
everything
he should be.
He's phenomenal. Yeah. All right, there we go.
Right now, he's my 1 for sure.
So next Tuesday, we'll come back with 2 new guys. And then so Kyron Lacey today, LSU wide receiver, and Nick came in, Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami, Florida. Looking at a first-round guy, probably top 10, potentially first quarterback off the board, and then we're looking at a second, third-round guy in Kyron Lacey right now. So there we go. Podcast in the books. Got a lot done today here, big episode. Got some stuff, and stuck with a pretty good time frame. This is where we usually roll about. Yeah. So Thursday we'll be back. Starts of the week, power rankings, and previews for week 11.
Week 11.
Yeah,
it's
football season goes
dude.
Too fast. I hate it.
I hate it. It's crazy. But after the season, draft. It don't stop. Football season's year round, brother.
Yeah. And we'll have new coaches, openings, stuff like that. We'll look for maybe filler episode over the summer. We'll each take a team that doesn't have a coach and kind of rebuild them, something like that, and do a little mock draft, just something small, nothing crazy. We won't dive into cap numbers and free agent contracts, stuff like that. That's too much work. I'm not smart enough to do that kind of math.
Yeah, I'm not out here doing. I'm not doing math on a daily basis anymore, dude. Yeah, I'm out of school.
It would be positions to target in free agency, maybe potential names, and then like a 3-round, 4-round mock draft. Just kind of hey, target these guys to replace teams that need a quarterback, maybe the Jets, something like that.
Yeah. Wrap this John up. We'll talk about podcast stuff off air.
Yeah. Plan the pod on the pod. That's what you got to do. Let them know what they have to look forward to. All right, guys. We're out of here. Twitter, @DraftedUp_pod. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Drafted Up Podcast. Rate, subscribe, review, share, word of mouth, all that good stuff. All right. Adios. Ta-ta.
That did not go in.
Kobe.
Adios. Bye.